Hello, Cloud Champions. Very welcome to the very first lab over IAM, that is Identity and Access Management. So in this lab, we are going to, take a look at how to create users, groups, and how to give access. So let's quickly get started. So on screen, you can see we'll be opening AWS console. How you can do is you can just type AWS console and click on AWS Management Console. You can say, just a second. Yeah, you need to click on sign into console. And here root user. So you might have created your AWS account. So all you need to do is log in with your user. So you might have created it with your Gmail ID. So just put your Gmail ID and use the password to log in. So I have just logged in with the root user. This root user is nothing but the kind of account credentials that you have used to create your first account. Now, ideally, we should have one more user as an admin. We should not be using root user, because if this user gets hacked, then hacker can create numerous resources and you will be billed or charged for it. So as a best practice, or what is recommended by AWS is you create another user with admin rights, and you should be using that user for all your day-to-day activities. So let's quickly see how to create those users. So this is Amazon console, and if I click on this services, so you would see various services over here right now. But what we are more concerned of, identity and access management service. So I will say type IAM, and you can see IAM has popped up. So this is identity and access management service. I'll click on this. And you can see this is a dashboard that we have. Now let's take a look at the agenda that we have. So this is IAM lab, and the very first thing that we are going to do is customize our URL. So give me a second. So what does this customize your URL mean? So if I go back to dashboard, so this is your sign-in URL. So let me copy this and let me use another browser. So I'll be using Microsoft Edge. So this is my another browser. If I click over this URL, so there are many AWS accounts, right? Like right now, there are 100 plus users who have registered in this workshop, and there would be different accounts. So this is a unique account ID that you have. So this account is my unique ID. You might have your own account ID, but it's very clumsy to remember this URL or this account. Can you see this URL? So if you are creating a user and you want someone to log in your AWS account, remembering this number is very clumsy. So let's customize it. Hey guys, just a quick heads up. So I can see that Amazon has changed its UI slightly. So if on the IAM dashboard, you're not able to see that URL over here, which I was showing you a while back, you would see it in the right section. So here is where you can see your account ID, and here is where you can see your account alias. So whatever customization I'm showing you, if you are not able to see in the middle, you will see here in the right scene over here. Let me call it as a cloud workshop. Something that we can remember. Okay, so if I say create alias, okay, okay, it should contain only lower letters, and since I wrote some caps letter, that's why it's not accepting. So now my URL would be like cloudworkshop.signin.aws.amazon.com/console. So instead of remembering that unique ID, account ID, it's better to remember this cloud workshop. Just a correction. Okay, so this already is taken by someone. So cloud workshop, let me call it cloud champion workshop. So it should be, so this URL should be unique. If it's taken by someone, then you can't get it. For example, now I have taken cloud champion workshop, so no one else would get this URL. So this URL is easy to remember. Okay, so this is the first thing that we have done, customizing your URL. And I'll explain why do we need this URL. So now whenever you want to log in, you can use cloud workshop over here instead of, so you can see account alias, account ID or account alias. So someone can use a cloud champion workshop instead of remembering this complex name. So customizing URL is done. The next action item is creating a group. So actually we want to create a user, but before user, it's important to create a group and with some group name. So let's see how do we do that. So I'll go into console. I'll click in the left pane. You see there's a group. So what is a group? So now let's say, I have 100 plus students in this webinar. Okay, if I want to give all of you access to this account, so instead of giving access to one-on-one, what I'll do is I'll create a group, let's say admin, and if I want to give admin access to everyone, so I'll create those 100 users and I'll simply add those to group. Now this group would have admin access, so every user in that group would get those access. Let me go through the lab and I'll explain. So let's create a group. So let me create a group by admin name. You can create with any name, but make it more specific to the role. Now whatever user I would be creating in this group, it would be my own user. I want to give that user admin access. That's why the group name that I am giving is admin. So I'll say next step. So this is the group name. Next is I'll have to attach permission. So whether now, in Amazon, there are various resources that we would be using like EC2 storage. So these are different services. I want to give this, the user that I would be creating and which I would be adding in this admin group, it should have all access. So I will simply go ahead with the policy type is nothing but the kind of access. So I'll give it access of administrator. If needed, I can give it only limited access of, only read-only access to particular resource. But for this lab, we will give it admin access. So this user, any user created in this group will have all the access to this account, administrator access. So I'll say go next step. And we have our group created. So say create group. So we have our admin group created. There are no user as of now. Okay. Your root user is not considered as a user. Your root user is considered as a base user. So there are no users as of now. We just have created a group. So let's go to the another step. So create a group with a group name admin, which we have already done. Assign an existing AWS policy, which we already did, administrator access. Now let's go to the third step. The third step is create a user. So this is what actually we wanted to do. So click on the user in the left pane. I'll say add user. So here you can give the mail ID or this username. I'll keep it simple. I will give a username. So let's call it sham-demo. So this is a username I want to give, and I will give it a access of console. Now there are two types of access, programmatic and console. Let's not go into detail of this because you'll get confused. Console is something in the UI. And to explain in short, programmatic is something that you can run from command line. So instead of logging to this user interface, you can run scripts from the backend, which actually would do things behind the scene with the programmatic access. But we don't need this for our lab. For our lab, what we want is user to log into UI console in the browser like this. So I'll say AWS management console. The passwords would be auto-generated. You can also, if I want to generate a password for this user sham-demo, I can give it customized password as well. But for now, I'll keep it auto-generated. And when user must create a new password at sign in. So when user would log in for the first time, which user? This sham-demo would log in for the first time, he or she will have to reset that password. Why? Because this auto-generated password is something I know as an admin, right? Now, if I would pass on this to some other user, I can misuse this password, which should not be a case. So I'll keep this on. I'll keep this checked. Okay. And I'll say next. So permissions. So in permissions, so you can see this add user to a group. So instead of giving permission, I'm simply adding it to group. So this is a group that we created in our second step, that is admin, and it already has permission of admin access. Okay. So I'll simply create, say add user to the group admin. Next is tag. So this is tag is just an additional information. For example, when you join your college, you have this kind of student ID. So the key is kind of student ID, and which so this is the key, and your student ID, let's say mine is 23. It's unique to me. Your might be 24, right? Or what we say is roll number. So roll number is a key, and the value is, so my roll number is 21. Your might be different. So this is what we call as key value pairs, and this tag are for the reason so that we can sort resources. Tomorrow we would have many such users, right? So it would be very difficult for me to identify. So here what I would give as a tag is, I would give department. So let's say this sham-demo, this user is from R&D department. So I'll call it R&D, that is research and development. Okay, this alphanumeric it's not accepting, so I'll call it research department. Okay, I have given short form of department and I'll say next review. So this is a user that would be generated. Okay, AWS management console auto generated. Required password reset, yes. I'll say create user. So you can see the user is created. Now at this point, this is very important point, guys. You should click on this. So this is the password that is generated, random password. What I'll do is I'll copy this password in my notepad. So the user that was created is sham-demo. Okay, and this is the URL. So whenever you create user for any, for any particular individual, also be sure that you share the URL as well, because user will have to log in into your this AWS console, right? So in this AWS console, we have created this user with this password. Now what, let's try to check whether this user is able to log in or not. So what I'll do is I'll copy this URL and I will go into my different browser. So this is my Chrome browser. Now I will switch on to another browser, which is my Edge browser. So you can see here, this is another browser. I'll copy my URL, Cloud Champions Workshop. Okay, so you can see, and as an alias, it was auto-filled, Cloud Champions Workshop. And the username is sham-demo. And let's copy the password. So now let's assume I am a user. And now when I put this password, which was supplied to me by admin in a actual scenario, so it's asking me to change the password. So here I will put the old password and here I will reset the new password, so that now this password is not known to anyone, any of my admins. I am the whole and sole owner of this account. Okay, I'll say confirm change and see I am able to log into this console. So this is as a user. So I have logged in as a Sham, and you can see here it shows the name sham-demo. Okay, if I go back to my original account, so here you can see I was logged in with a root, so you would be able to see only the name of my account and not the exact my username, because I was logged in with the root. But if I switch back to this user, now this is a user which is logged in by sham-demo. So if I move my screen, sorry, I'll keep my screen here. So you can see IAM username sham-demo. This is account ID, so which is unique, which was replaced by the alias. Okay, so this was the lab. Let's see our next action item. So next action item is delete resources. So usually whatever resources we would be creating in our lab, we need to delete it because you might be charged for it. But here in this case, there is no need to delete any of this user or group, because you will not be charged of it. This is simply a software service, like it's just a software. You added a user and you created a group, added user to that group. So you will not be charged for it. So it's all okay if you can keep this user as it is, no need to delete it. So this was all we had in our IAM lab. What you can do is so as a recommended practice, you should be using sham-demo to perform your daily day-to-day activities, so that if this ID gets hacked, you can log into the root user and get control of your account. You can delete this user which was hacked, right? But in case if you are using root user and like if that gets hacked, then you don't have any super user above it. Okay, that's why as a recommended practice, try avoiding that user. So that's all we had in this session. Hope you liked it. Write your experiences in the comment box. See you in the next session. Goodbye.